Change has to change, in the sense that change has always been happening. There is something, because there is change. You will never swim twice in the same river. This is something, it's a wisdom that unifies all different traditions, philosophical tradition and thinking around the globe. So change has always been there. Whenever people tell me, oh, it's utopian to think that another world is possible, I always say, but another world has always already begun.
Our relationship to the term change needs to change. We're caught in a moment historically in which the idea of change and our relationship to time has so compressed our thought process around change that everything becomes change. Everything is disruption. Everything has to change. We've lost the ability to understand that the term urgency, the urgency of change, does not mean the immediacy of change.
What needs to be changed is our conception of who's in the world and in what way are they in the world and how do they count. Because I think that as we've thought about putting the pieces of our world together, we have struggled over history to figure out what voices should be heard, what individuals should have a voice in the discourse, and in what way do we figure out how to organize our thoughts. And you know, my sense is that the way we've tried to organize is by categorizing things, and I think these very categories have been the undoing of us. And in particular, I'm very interested in the category and construction of gender and gender fluidity, and how it really serves as an example of, by gendering things and breaking things into categories of gender, we've really overlooked the reality of what gender fluidity means.
We are all pink inside. I think we are all the same inside, regardless of color and class and sex and sexual orientation and gender. I don't know that I believe in equality per se, because I think that is just trying to get everybody to want the things that white men have had all the time. And I think that we need new structures, but equity certainly I would like an equitable world free of sexual violence. I want an end to rape, and I want an end to gender-based violence.
The most constantly unnerving thing is inequality in the world.
Everybody should be able to have access to a decent amount of food, quality of food, to a decent shelter, to clothing, to the wherewithal to live and to engage with others. And I think that we should eliminate violence. Again, there are such terrible inequities and suffering.
First of all, education should be free, and it should be free for everyone, and it should be accessible to everyone. But not just education accessible. All the terms in which education is given, so much of them are already really so class-based. We don't ever talk about class. We love talking about sex. We love talking about race in America. But we don't talk about the kind of class competences that go into being able to perform in a university setting, the kind of preparation, the kinds of ways in which people are excluded before they even open their mouths.
The incredible divisions we see and experience in the country, the fact that we are a post-race, we're not post-race anymore, thank you, Donald Trump. We're very clear that it's all about race and class, but we are actually post-fact, and everything is about meaning. And we must be able to generate that no matter who we are, what we look like, where we live, and in particular, if we are people of color.
Their sense of freedom, by which I mean a sense of confidence.
That our world needs to have more love in it. I do, as corny as it sounds, I believe that if people were to love more, to love each other more, to develop a more generous heart, to develop a more generous spirit, I think that things would be better and would get better in many ways.
It's not just increasing the speed of transport, of communication, and also of production, of producing things, and then also of consuming things and throwing them away. World changes at a higher pace, right? Talking about change again. The rates of change increase. It's not just the rates of change with respect to transport or traffic or communication. It's the patterns of association. Who interacts with whom and how do we interact? It's the forms of practice, and therefore it's also the forms of knowledge, the knowledge about everyday life, who is where and who does what. All these things change at a higher pace.
Quote, I cannot understand why people are frightened of new ideas. I'm frightened of old ones. End quote. John Cage, 1988.
The economy is stagnating. We need new ideas. We need to fight inertia, indolence, idleness. We need to reorganize social life from its very fundamentals. We must change our habits, our statutes, our constitutions. Change has been too slow. We must change the change itself. This is the road to success. We must install the new accelerated change laws. The new AC law declares that, number one, it shall change, it shall increase. The labor force shall be separated from the means of production so that the latter can be accumulated incrementally, exponentially, incessantly, enabling uninterrupted investment in scientific and technological research. The change of change will bring progress. The progress of progress will win the market. The marketing of the market will increase productivity.
The demos is always heterogeneous, diverse. Got a lot of xenophobic elements among the demos, a lot of ignorance, a lot of parochialism. You also have a lot of cosmopolitanism, a lot of globalism, a lot of courage, moral courage. So the demos is not one thing, but when it comes to the ability of the demos to organize, mobilize, and bring power and pressure to bear, we certainly are in a crisis. Our system is broken. We've got 71% of people who want universal health care, and you can barely get through a reform bill with a weak public option. It's clear lobbyists from the top, pharmaceutical companies, drug companies have tremendous influence, much more than the demos from below.
Inequality has reached a stage where mild tweaking the system is not going to work. When I say inequality, we're talking about inequality of outcomes, incomes, opportunity, health, everything. That it's now become systemic in nature. And you're not going to really attack something that is systemic as our inequality today, something as deep as our inequality today, and something that's built up over now almost a half century, unless you go deeper.
Number two, They shall change. They will not stay. The produce we eat shall change. The crops we plant shall change. The commodities we sell shall change. Nothing will ever be the same again. The genes we modify shall change every 5 hours. The produce we consume shall change every 5 minutes. The commodities we sell shall change every 5 seconds.
The lack of critical engagement with the food that we eat demonstrates the extent to which the commodity form has become the primary way in which we perceive the world. We don't go further than what Marx called the exchange value of the actual object. We don't think about the relations that that object embodies and that were important to the production of that object.
So many people, and especially people of my generation, are yearning for new ideas, ideas that move beyond the old political distinction between the left and the right, ideas that are much more radical than what's being offered nowadays. Ideas like a universal basic income, ideas like a gratitude short working week, and the most radical idea, getting rid of order.
Number 3, you shall change. You won't remain. Nothing shall change unless you change, so you will change too. You shall change your private properties every month. You shall change your life partner every week. You shall change your personal wardrobe every day. You shall change your body. You shall change your habits. You shall change your iPhone. Every contract will automatically expire within a month. Every relationship will be consensually dissolved after a week. Every screensaver will be randomly replaced at the end of the day. Change your settings. Everything shall change.
The first question, of course, would be for us to ask ourselves, what is our world today? And what is the kind of world we want to envision in the future? But more importantly, to try and ask those who have been historically silenced, voices that have been historically marginalized and have been excluded from the vision of enlightenment and modernity and success and creativity and human flourishing that came along with the kind of colonial racist legacy we have today, and to establish practices that can allow us to have new concepts and a new political imaginary in which we can envision an utterly new world.
I think we need to rethink the way in which we think about quality. We need to become more sensitive and aware of the many ways in which we engage with these practices. Of course, rape is cruel, and of course, displacement is cruel. But there are all these small practices we all engage in. Accumulation is one of them.
The vogliamo che tutto rimanga com'è, bisogna che tutto cambi.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness.
The more things change, the more they understand. 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 The more things change,
The moment machines pass the Turing test properly, and you pick up the phone and you do not know whether the person that you are talking to is a human being or a machine. The moment we are going to have 3D printers operating as public utilities, you can send anything, any blueprint to it, and it can print from one pin to a motorcycle or to a car. The moment that this happens, we have not just a process of Schumpeterian creative destruction, but we have a process where economies of scale and the whole logic of corporate capitalism collapses. And at that point, we have a major rupture that the political system, which has been completely depleted of any semblance of democracy, will not be able to regulate. At that point, humanity will be facing a junction. We either move to a Star Trek-like utopia, where technology becomes our slaves and we manage to utilize its wealth-creating capacity for the purpose of the common good, which will be democratically determined and not technologically, remember Arrow, or we're going to move towards a Matrix-like dystopia where humans, independently of where they are the owners of these magnificent machines or the masses who are miserable and completely cut off productive society, will all become servants to the machines in exactly the same way that Mary Shelley described and Karl Marx followed in Das Kapital. The choice will depend on democratic politics. The choice is everyone's.
Quote, in this understanding of an imagined fullness of love, of a true, good love, love is virtually linked to the inner subjective conflict, which ultimately demands change and de-individualization from the individual. End quote. Hannah Arendt, 1929.
I was worried too. We are not supposed to be here at this moment.
But the mandatory divorce was only a few
conversation about the implementation of the new laws,
There must be a grace period. They cannot expect it to vanish so quickly.
Maybe we should just exchange. We should just text messages. It is too dangerous to meet.
I love your texts and all the pictures you sent me, but it is so much better to have you here with me. Have you here.
The law is the law, and you know what could happen if they find out.
I cannot live without you.
You will have to live without me.
What do you mean? I don't understand you. I thought you loved me.
I do, and I have something for you here.
What is this?
A cup.
A cup?
Yes, a cup to continue the uninterrupted kisses. Uninterrupted.
What is that song?
I do not know, but it may well be the Zitterpolizei. I must know. Do not forget the
A cup to continue uninterrupted kisses. And so I am continuing uninterrupted kisses. That is what I am doing. Continue uninterrupted kisses. I have to keep drinking. And if the cup will ever break, I will glue all the pieces back. Yes! I will glue it back. 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 Back, 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 back. I will do the hard work of the mosaic, because the work of the mosaic is the work of
Flesh. I felt beautifully dressed. I wanted to wear those images, all those changing images. I felt like I could wear them whenever I wanted. The image, the digital image, inexhaustible, inextinguishable, the copy that had become more authentic than the original itself. You had brought life to it into me, but ended up naked when you stopped sending images. Naked in my bare skin. But can anyone ever be naked? Naked like the naked body, which is always unnecessarily dressed, always a portrait. There is nothing more caught in the image than the naked body. Image of itself, essence of bourgeois individual. individualism. The naked body, the classical body, the sculpture, the painting, the bronze, there is no nakedness. There is just being and not being, plenitude and lack, a being that is for itself, flesh, fullness, and overabundance, and a being that is for another, a being in others and for others to be looked at, with no smell and no touch and thus no flesh. So perhaps you were right. My image is too intellectual, too cerebral, an image caught in seeing itself from the outside, and we should try to make an image from the inside, from the body and through the body, so the skin will leave its flatness and become flesh again, flesh and tissue, flesh and meat, flesh and viscera, flesh and flesh and taste, flesh and health, flesh and death, flesh and living.
I'd like to live in harmony with every living thing, to spread the love and cherish all that planet may bring. How many lives would it take before we face the cost? We can't keep using all this plastic, or soon we'll all be lost. Now it is time for a change. It's in our hands. Now it is time for a change.
In such a country and at such a time, there should be no melancholy evenings, even high bridges over the rivers, and the hours between the night and morning, and the long, long winter time as well. All these are dangerous, for in view of all the misery, people just stroll in a few seconds' time. Their unbearable lives away.
I'm only a child and I don't have all the solutions. But I want you to realize, neither do you. You don't know how to fix the holes in our ozone layer. You don't know how to bring the salmon back up in a dead stream. You don't know how to bring back an animal now extinct. And you can't bring back the forest that once grew where there is now a desert. If you don't know how to fix it, please stop breaking it. I am only a child, yet I know if all the money spent on war was spent on finding environmental answers, ending poverty, and finding treaties, what a wonderful place this earth would be.
Climate change isn't an issue to add to the list to worry about next to healthcare and taxes. It is a civilizational wake-up call, a powerful message spoken in the language of fires, floods, droughts, and extinction, telling us that we need an entirely new economic model and a new way of sharing this planet, telling us that we have to evolve.
Our house is on fire. 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 Our house is on fire.
For indigenous people, we've already been through the apocalypse. We've already been through the dystopia. We're living in a dystopia right now. We've already lost hundreds of plants, animals, and insects and habitats we relied on. And while the actual, say a plant itself may not be extinct globally, it's extinct to us when it's no longer accessible. And so in that sense, we're not making decisions based on the absolute dread of losing an iconic species. We're actually trying to figure out how to rebuild our societies given we've already lost so much.
What needs to be changed in the world is everything. We have to build a new civilization in the ruins of the old one as it collapses around us. If we could construct some sort of survivable post-capitalist world, that part just really seems to be key. It's much more focused on steering human energies in all of their terror and glory away from, kind of acquisition and destruction in our direction, and to do it while we still have time. The other option is maybe the planet's for some other species, and we're just kind of preparing the way for, I don't know, kind of octopus that can live on plastic or something. Like, that's entirely possible. Maybe our time is up.
Our time is up.
Quote, all fixed, fast frozen relations with the train of ancient and venerable prejudices and opinions are swept away. All new formed ones become antiquated before they can ossify. All that is solid melts into air. All that is holy is profaned. And woman is at last compelled to face with sober senses their real conditions of life and their relations with their kind. End quote. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, 1848.
We feel heat. We
C2F6.
feel a cold. We are all on the same boat. And the boat
CH4.
is sinking.
All that is holy
CO2 of wet and dried acid components keep depositing all around us. Precipications have changed, and they are unusually acidic. There
Cl2F2
are too many hydrogen ions in this world. On our fields, on our crops, on our skins, on our lungs, on our keyboards. The rain is wet. No, the rain is dry. We need more studies. But this must change too.
All that is solid into air. All that is solid into air and comes back as sulfur dioxide and comes back as nitrogen oxide and comes back as their endless
One and many, many and one, and no Y, and no X, and no Z. The nitrogen oxides pollute the molecule we breathe, even though they themselves breathe. The rain is wet. The rain is indeed the change.
That is solid melting to air. All that is solid melts into air. All that is solid melts into air. And will come back to us.
Nitrogen oxide.
And comes into back to us.
Nitrous oxide.
And comes back into us.
Nitrogen dioxide.
And comes back into all three us.
Nitrogen trioxide.
And comes back to us into four us.
Nitrogen tetroxide.
And it comes back to us as
CF4 tetrafluoromethane.
And comes back to us as
hexafluoromethane C2F2.
And comes back to us as
sulfur hexafluoride SF6.
And comes back to us as
nitrogen triofluoride NF3 and
F3
S
F6
C
through F2
C
F4
and
O4 and 2 O3.
Adults keep saying we owe it to the young people to give them hope. But I don't want your hope. I don't want you to be hopeful. I want you to panic. I want you to feel the fear I feel every day. And then I want you to act. I want you to act as if you would in a crisis. I want you to act as if the house was on fire. Because it is.
Change is coming, whether they like it or not.
I think we all at this table, and many more people than that, share that dream. When Martin said that he dreamed of a country in which his 4 children would not be penalized because of their color. All of us believe that. I think we're all committed to that. What is perhaps paradoxical, but it's the American Negro in this context who, on the basis of evidence, has most faith in this country. I myself have always, no matter how bitter I became, believed, as Harry puts it, in the potential of this country, in the tremendous energy here, and the things that we can achieve, if we will. The importance of today, in my mind, is that for the first time in our history, and for the first time in 100 years, the nation shows some signs of really dealing with its central problem instead of, as it has done for 100 years, avoiding it, evading it, denying it, lying about it, pretending it did not exist. The country will have to now go to work, and very hard work, very dangerous work, to change itself, to achieve this dream that Martin was talking about. And if we do not achieve this dream, we have no future at all.
We're into a new period of activism and a new period of hope, which is to do what you can do within reach and transform everything that you touch, everything that is immediately around you.
You touch.
Go ahead, take responsibility,
Everything
go there,
you touch.
reach out and touch it.
Out and touch.
Change it and let it change you.
Change it.
White supremacy, homophobia, patriarchy, have to fight to change those things. But as I see it, also the art of change is about art being used to make change. You hear some unusual music, you go out for a while and you think, wow, that was really different. I wonder what else could be different around here. And when people start thinking about how things could be different, that's when change starts, and that's when hope also becomes important.
Quote, birth is both in the world and a world's beginning. Everybody counts. Everybody is a testament to hope. The hope of the world rests in the newborn infant. The infant's hope resides in the world's welcome. End quote, Sarah Rudick, 1989. At the beginning was the imagination, with its capricious, subversive nature. But a charming guy arrived on the scene and promised to bring bread to everybody. People believed him, although it turned out to be more interested in actually enriching only somebody's. Market productivity increased, but labor became boring, repetitive, alienating. Until one day, a mob of angry kids stood up and cried, "Let's stop it! All power to the imagination! No more one-dimensional women!" And the guy, being quite smart, timidly replied, "Let's try it out. Let's be creative and express ourselves. We will get the digitalized machines to do the repetitive work of the factories. Yes, that's what we'll do." And now, we have too many images and too little imagination. Too many identities and too little time to test them out. Too many climate change studies and too little faith in them. We asked for more creativity, but ended up with too many screens and no more vision. Can there still be a place for imagination in a world where imagining is always at the service of the production machine? Can you imagine something new in a world where every new has already been sold just in time? And what if imagination itself proves to be not a faculty that we possess, but the homologated social imaginary possessing us? At the beginning is the imaginal, that space which is neither an individual faculty nor a social context, but pure, immanent flux of images, representations. They're also presences in themselves. Reorientation of images can then begin the revolutions of our time. Re-innovation against compulsory innovation. The old to create the new. Strat of images to digital dullness. Lost words to rediscover new, living ones. Re-innovation against compulsory innovation. A straight line against the phantasmagoria of commodities. Fixity against the constant flux of capital. Cosmic love against bourgeois mortgage romance. One globe, so the interruptions are possible again. Re-innovation against compulsory innovation. The new through the same. Eternal return against empty difference. Bodies against flatness. Touch against the excess of seeing. A mountain against the sea, next to the sea, made by the sea.